Hey guys. Okay, so I've just walked out of a presentation that was put on by some planning and environment lawyers. Now, I'd love to give those guys a shout out because I actually found it really interesting. It was a good presentation because I learned a lot. But what I'm going to talk about in today's video is kind of going to be the really crude Peter the Town Planner summary of what they said. It's probably not going to be 100% technically or legally correct, and I don't want them sitting there going, no, you mentioned our name, you've tied us to it, that's not what we said. So I thought, hey, I'll play it safe and just keep their name out of it. Now, what are we going to talk about in today's video? Well, essentially, today's video is probably going to have 3 phases or stages to it, because my understanding of this topic has gone through 3 evolutions, let's just say. So, in the start, probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I had a massive influx of people coming to us going, I want to do that. How can you help me do that? That was more often than not a structure which contained, let's say, 10 different bedrooms, each bedroom with its own kitchenette and its own ensuite, and then 10 car parks downstairs and 1 token shared kitchen shoved in the corner. Everyone look at it goes, it's a unit. However, when I looked up Development Eye, every single time there was no town planning history. Now, you always need an application for a unit complex or a unit development. So I in the beginning sat there and went, what the heck is going on here? Like, how has this slipped through? Anyway, fast forward, what I established or what I worked out was certifiers were signing off on these as dwelling houses. Now, I'd kind of gone to the conclusion or jumped to the conclusion that it was dodgy certifiers. They were just kind of turning a blind eye to these sort of things. And in my opinion, it was a ticking time bomb. It was something that council was destined to crack down on. Like, they surely would know about all this stuff and they're going to crack down on it. Anyway, fast forward to probably maybe 2 weeks ago, I was having a chat to a certifier and he kind of threw a spanner in the works for me, let's say. He basically said Logan City Council, as an example, only ask you to provide a stat dec confirming that that structure is going to be used by a single household, and then as far as they're concerned, happy days. I sat there and went, what the? Like, why would council say that? In this instance, Logan City Council. Like, they're opening themselves up to compliance headaches. When, at the very least, when that unit, that owner sells that property, the next person's going to come along and go, great, happy days, we're going to rent out each room. Like, yeah, sure, it's a short-term Band-Aid solution, but they're going to have headaches in the end, in the long run. So I sort of sat there and went, okay, what am I missing here? Surely councils can't be endorsing this sort of thing. Anyway, now we fast forward to today's presentation. So they were talking about the highlights from this year, highlights, loose term, basically interesting court cases that had come about. And one in particular was between Sunshine Coast City Council. I got that out, didn't I? And I can't remember who the other party was, totally irrelevant. Anyway, this person had created one of these things and they'd been busted. Now, there was 2 sort of aspects or elements to this court case. In the first element, they were sort of challenging or questioning whether council could force them to stop the use. Long story short, yes, they could. They could force them to revert it back to being a single household and only used by, I don't know what Sunshine City Council's definitions are, but in Brisbane, the version is maximum of 5 unrelated people, blah, 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 blah. So yes, that component was pretty straightforward. The second component, and this is where it gets interesting, was could council force them to make changes to the property, to the structure, to ensure that it could not be unlawfully used in the future? Now I sat there and went, well, surely they could. Turns out it's not that black and white. And I went, this is why we haven't seen this massive crackdown on this so far. Like, it's not black and white, it's all sorts of grey and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, long story short, where they got to was, yes, Sunshine City Coast City Council, I hope I'm saying that right, can force them to make changes, but not as many changes as they expected. So they were hoping to bulldoze walls, rip out flooring, do all that sort of stuff. And what the court found in the end was they could make some changes, but not quite that much of a change. So where do we get to at the end of the day? Well, we get right back to where I started, which is, yes, there is a lot of these things operating out there. There is a lot of people that have gotten away with it until now. However, I personally consider these things to be a ticking time bomb. And that ticking time bomb could blow up in 2 days' time when you just purchase the property. It could blow up in 6 months' time when you start construction. It could blow up in 2 years' time when you just finish construction. Either way, at some point it is going to blow up, in my personal opinion. And that is a massive risk to take when you're purchasing these properties for that sole purpose. So if you come to me and you say, hey, we want to create one of these things, my advice to you is going to be, no, don't touch it. Don't go there. It is just all kinds of messy grey. And now this legal case that they mentioned today just further proves that point. Okay, I think that covers off everything I wanted to talk about today. As I always say, until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got three. Number one, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site-specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number two, Brisbane Town Planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number three, what was my number three? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all. Bye.